Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have James Grant, a premier personal injury lawyer out of Georgia. And welcome, James.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, man. So tell us your story. I mean, how did you get in law? Tell us how you sound like you're growing your business really well. I want to talk to you about that and your unique way of growing your business. So let's talk about it. Give me a story.
So I'm gonna try my best to give you the 50,000 foot flyover view, because there's a lot of twists and turns along the way. But I'm an engineer by trade. I went to Georgia Tech. I'm an Atlanta guy. Was a civil engineer, and my last semester of college, I was like, you know what? Let's try to go to law school. Everybody in my family thought I was crazy, and rightly so. But I thought I was going to do patent law, because I thought that was a great fit of, taking the engineering, taking the legal side, putting them together. Like, that would be a great fit. But I went to law school. I got in, I got accepted, did my 3 years, took the bar, passed it. But I got some experience in law school of being in the courtroom, working at the district attorney's office. And I was like, oh no, this is way more fun. I like this whole performing thing. So that's when everything switched. And I was like, I got to get into trial work somehow. So I worked at the prosecutor's office here in town. And Georgia's a little bit different than a lot of states. We have the district attorney that handles all the felonies. The solicitor general, they handle all the misdemeanors. So I was in the solicitor general's office. I mean, that sucker, it is churn and burn. I mean, I had like 400 active cases at any one point in time. So I got a ton of trial experience. I think I tried like 20 something cases in 18 months. And then, after that point, I did my public service. It was time to, get out into the real world. And I started at a law firm that did what I call door law, meaning if you walked in the door and you had a case or you had cash, they were going to handle it. And it was terrifying because you almost never knew what you were going to get day to day, but you got a lot of experience and a lot of exposure real fast. And at the same time, 2 weeks before I started, that was back in October of 2013, my current business partner, Mark, started at that same firm. And a few months in, he and I, we kind of looked at each other. We're like, I think we could probably do this and we could do our own thing and make it our own. So we started saving, we started planning, and what was it? 14 months later, December of 2014, we turned in our notice. And then January of 2015, we opened Georgia Trial Attorneys and the firm was born. I tell everybody, we were two idiots. We had no plan, no processes, no clients, no referral sources. We were just two dudes hanging out in Mark's basement. But slowly we started to figure it out, refine our plan, refine our pitch, narrow our focus. And I mean, here we are today, and we've had a lot of success and a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I was talking to you before we started the show, and tell our listeners how you said you started in 2014, and I guess it was you and Mark, right?
Yes, sir.
And so now it's you and Mark, and how many people you got in the firm now?
So at this point, we've got 15 staff, we've got 4 attorneys, and then Mark and myself. So we have a large team really all across the world that's working for us. And to kind of go back and then come back forward, when we started the firm, we kind of operated under the model that we were groomed under. We did door law, number one, because you got to pay bills. So, I mean, we were taking whatever cases could come. Then it was kind of, all right, we're going to do family law, we're going to do criminal defense, we're also going to do personal injury. But through that, you realize that if you're, dabbling in a little bit of everything, you're an expert in nothing. So we're like, all right, we got to pick one, and that's going to be our focus. We both like personal injury. We're both good at it. We both have a good time with it. So we're like, yep, this is what we're going to do. And I think that was mid 2016, early 2017. We started just solely focusing on personal injury cases. And I mean, we haven't looked back since.
So how do you get a lot of these? Because you call yourself Georgia trial lawyers. How do you get a lot of these cases, these personal injury cases?
So our model's a little bit different. I mean, when you hear somebody that says that they're a personal injury attorney, you immediately think on the pre-litigation side of things. You sign up the client, you do all your marketing, you hustle to get them into the door or pre-qualify them, then you sell them, you get them to sign the dotted line, you get them into treatment, you send a demand letter, you negotiate the case, you move on to the next one. I mean, everybody loves those cases because the margins are generally great. Next phase of litigation, or the next phase, which is litigation, if you can't settle the case, or there's just some difficulty, or if it needs just even to file a lawsuit to get started, most firms don't specialize in that. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, everybody likes the margins of pre-litigation. I can't blame people for that. That's a great model where there's an underserved community in the litigation side of things. A lot of these bigger firms, there's a lot more staff, there's a lot more process, there's a lot more training and ongoing training that needs to go into the litigation side of things, and it doesn't fall in their pre-litigation model. So we found entirely focused on just going to other law firms, and our clients technically are other law firms because we handle their litigation cases. I'm not trying to compete in the market with everybody else, paying $170, $200 a click on Google for a client that was just in an accident. I would much rather network, build relationships with other law firm owners, and be able to show them through our process, through our way of doing things, that we get really good results. We can make you more money in less time and with less stress. And it's been a winning model.
So I'm interested on how did you go about making these relationships with these law firms around, I guess it would be around Atlanta, Georgia area, right? Or is it across the whole state?
So yeah, we handle cases across the entire state. And I mean, we've got relationships that, go as far south as Valdosta, and I mean, up north as far as Rome, and kind of anywhere in between. And we also have referral partners that are outside the state of Georgia. So we work with firms in Alabama, in Florida, in North Carolina. So it's not that we're just limited geographically to Alabama or to Georgia, because other people in other states get Georgia cases. So it's something that we can, work with a lot of different people. But to answer your question, it's really, it's all about relationships. You do business with people that you know, like, and trust. And you only get to that when you're constantly in front of them, when you're going out to lunch, when you're, going to ball games, when you're playing golf, when you're building that actual relationship and not just communicating via email.
So how would you do that? Say one of the bigger guys there or ladies that are doing a lot of TV advertising, how would you break in? Because I'm sure they got a lot of people going to them wanting to, their whatever they can, got to give them.
I would say that there are some that try to do what we do, but a lot of those firms run into a problem because they still want the pre-litigation cases. And at some point along the road during that relationship, the big firm that's sending the cases, or the firm that's sending the cases, they may not be a big firm necessarily, but whoever is referring these cases out, they're going to kind of look over and be like, well, are you now going to try to steal my business? I fed you all these cases and I got you to a point where you are quote unquote self-sustainable. Are you going to start marketing against me and taking my clients? Whereas my pitch is, I'm never going to do that. I don't care about that anymore. We've turned off all of our marketing. We have our website. We're redoing our website entirely to not be client facing, but to be attorney facing. So that way for us, the pitch is you can stick with us. I'm not going after your clients. I'm going after other people like you. And who do you know that I could help just the same?
Well, I'm taking it that y'all get some really good results for these lawyers to refer you cases.
I mean, results are obviously a big part of it. One of the big things that we pride ourselves on is, at an absolute minimum, we're generally going to 5X whatever comes in the door. So, if just doing the simple math, if we come in with a $20,000 case, that was the pre-lit offer, we're going to settle it for 100 or more. Or if we try it, we're going to get 100 or more. So, the results do speak for themselves in that, but it's not just about the money. It's about the time and it's about the stress. If you're running a pre-lit firm and you are really good at the hustle market sell, focus on that. Don't get tied into something else, like all of a sudden now I have to build out an entire policy and procedure that's entirely separate from pre-lit, but that's also on lit. I need to have different attorneys that now are running my litigation cases. I need to have different paralegals. I need to have an entirely different staff and an entirely different model, because yes, you can have attorneys and staff that are good in both, but generally they're not going to be great in both, and they need to be experts in each, because each is an entirely separate animal, and I think should be a separate animal. So I think we bring a lot to the table, more than just money, but time and stress.
Yeah. Ken Hardison here, president and founder of PILMA, Personal Injury Lawyers Marketing and Management Association. I want you to mark your calendars for September the 7th through the 9th. We're going to have a internet boot camp for lawyers. We call it the Lawyers Internet Domination Boot Camp, and it's going to be virtual, so you don't have to travel. 3 afternoons from 12:30 to 5:30. And if you can't make one of the sessions, you'll get full recordings of every speaker. So here's just some of the samples, some of the things we're going to be covering. Luke Russell is going to talk to you about how to win in the new era of Facebook advertising and how to target when Facebook is regularly reducing targeting options. Seth Price is going to talk to you about the 5 things you need to be doing in SEO to make more money. And I'm going to be talking to you about how to protect yourself and your law firm from cybersecurity attacks. Did you know that they have grown from over 67% in the last 3 years? Tanner Jones will also be talking about how to dominate your local market with agile social media marketing. And we have a special keynote, Dennis Yu, who is the godfather of how to test your Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram ads on $1 a day. It's a secret that he has shared with me and our PILMA friends, and now he's going to share it with you. So if this sounds like something you're interested, go to pilma.org/internet bootcamp, or go to the end of the notes of this presentation. Thanks. When I was practicing years ago, usually you could get the attorneys that you refer cases to, they wanted 2/3 and you got 1/3. But I'm hearing more and more it's a 50-50 split now.
So we try to do a staggered approach. We have some firms that will send us some of their later stage pre-litigation cases where they know they're going to come an issue, and we'll still send a demand on those, and those technically are pre-lit, but we're not working it up. It's more of we're just taking the records and we're actually drafting the demand, working with the client to work on their story, just because so much goes into the demand, as opposed to, oh, here's the medical bills, oh, here's a little story about it, and here's a few pictures, give us a bunch of money. We really try to work with the client to build that whole story, speak with the witnesses that we know that are going to come, because we're already planning for trial, and we'll send a demand there. That's a different fee split. But when it comes to our standard, standard's going to be 50-50, because you did a lot of the work. You did all the marketing, you did all the cost of acquisition, you got the client to this point, we're going to finish it. So, I think that's a fair trade. The only thing that we do a little different at the end is if we try the case, we ask for a 60-40 split. So if we actually go and get a verdict, we'll do a 60-40 split at that point.
I think that's fair. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Great deal.
It's worked for us thus far. We haven't had people balk. So from 60% at trial, 50-50 through litigation. And if we handle the demand, we'll do the 1/3, 2/3.
So you had 15 people, staff people. Are any of them offshore or not? Are they working remote, or are they working in house, or what?
So even though we've got a pretty big office, right now in our office, there's 2 people, me and our receptionist. And our receptionist is the only person that is in the office all day. Our attorneys, I can't remember the last time our attorneys came to the office. Our support staff, none of them come into the office, because most of them are either in other states or other countries. So we're able to almost be an entirely virtual law firm, where we solely just use the office for the final disbursements if a client doesn't want an ACH or a wire or a FedEx. But other than that, we're not really using the office too much.
Yeah. So the ratio of people, it sounds like everybody working remote. Are you using any virtual assistants?
Yes. Yeah. Our virtual assistants from other countries are about 50% of our support staff. All of our attorneys are Georgia attorneys, Georgia based. They're all local, but our support staff, out of the 15, well, actually 8 are virtual in other countries.
Well, I see that in the masterminds I run. I see that more and more. Everybody's going to that. It's hard to find people, and then once you find them, somebody's trying to poach them, and they're offering them crazy salaries, and it just got crazy out there. Since COVID, it's just got wild. I don't know if you're seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, hiring is definitely a tough thing when you look at it from a local perspective. When you open it up to a national perspective, obviously you gain a lot more. And then when you go global, there's so many more candidates that are out there in different countries and different economies, but still have the same level of skill set that you need. And one thing that we've been able to find through our process is, an attorney should only be doing a few things. You need a law license to argue in court, to sign pleadings, and to give legal advice. If you're not doing those three things, then it can be delegated to another administrative professional. So whether it's a paralegal, whether it's an administrative assistant, however you want to delegate it, but those things should be going to other people. And we've been able to find people across a number of different countries, whether it's, in the Philippines or South America or South Africa. There's a lot of countries that are out there that have very skilled, qualified people that are able to do the work just the same.
So do you go through services or do you go through just do it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, we do it ourselves. I found it's easier because then I can control everything. So I can go to Indeed Mexico, I can go to Indeed Argentina there. And that's just one of the examples of, the Indeed website is universal to every country. So you can go to that particular country's Indeed website and post a job. There's tons of other job platforms that are out there, which are great. But then one of the things that we found is once you start cultivating these relationships with other people in other countries, most VAs are treated terribly and they don't have any confidence in their employer. But once they find that, they're going to refer everybody to you. So we had a lot of turnover initially with our VAs, but once they found out who we were, they bought into our mission, to our why and what we stand for. All of a sudden now we've got them referring their friends, their family, their people from other companies to come to us to say, hey, would you talk to, my cousin or my friend? And then, I would much rather take a referral as opposed to just, some person that I don't know.
Yeah, I know we got some lawyers. We got a couple of lawyers that are they're hiring lawyers out of Mexico and use them as paralegals. They're paying them, 20,000, 25,000, but that's probably half to a third of what you have to pay a paralegal now in a big city. I mean,
oh yeah, one of our, it's not necessarily a paralegal duty, but one of our case managers, he's a attorney in Mexico. So, you can find highly skilled people that are able to do the job.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from our members is that they really look forward to coming to work. They appreciate the job. It's just a different mindset.
You hit the nail on the head. Mindset is everything when it comes to virtual staff, because once you start going global, you're dealing with so many different dynamics. You're dealing with other countries and specifically other economies. And one thing I heard so much when we started hiring VAs is, how dare you pay somebody, $4, $5, $6, $7 an hour? And it's like, yeah, that's low in America, but that's a whole lot of money in the Philippines or Mexico. You're talking, effective salaries of $80,000 in the US. If you start saying those numbers, all of a sudden the light starts clicking. Oh, well, it's not as bad. It's just their economy is suppressed compared to ours. So when you equate it and comparing it, okay, we're paying pretty good.
Yeah. And you were telling me that a lot of lawyers have come to you to try to figure out how to do this.
Yeah. We've been through a lot of VAs. We've hired companies, we've tried to do it ourselves. We've been through a lot over the past 2 years since we've started this process, and we've just been able to refine it and get it to a point where not that it runs itself, but when it comes to hiring a new VA, we've got a process that, we spec out the job, we spec out the qualifications, we spec out the candidates, we screen them very well, we put them through rigorous tests, and then we have a very structured onboarding process. If you don't have all those things in place, it will likely crash and burn. Obviously, you're going to find a couple of unicorns along the way, and it's not, but you have to have a very structured process from, deciding that you want to hire a VA all the way through, their first 60 to 75 days. If you don't have that, yeah, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So luckily we've been able to refine that through some good and bad times.
Well, good deal. Well, good deal. So is there anything you would like to share with our listeners out there? Bits of wisdom?
Oh, bits of wisdom, man. Don't be cheap. being cheap will not get you anywhere. I mean, on simple things, you can be cheap on technology. You can be cheap on equipment. It's going to come back to haunt you. We just spent, I think, $1,200 on a paper folding machine. People thought we were crazy, but if that sucker is able to fold 100 or 100 letters for envelopes in less than a minute, no person can do that. We're going to recoup our cost in a month. Yeah. So, things like that, the more you invest in your technology and your equipment to automate and streamline processes, it's going to be better. And I mean, the same thing with staff. Yes, you can go to other countries and probably pay $2 an hour, or you can go to the US and pay somebody $12 an hour, or whatever the rate is, but hire the best person for the job, hire the most skilled person.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay more, but you're going to get so much better results if you hire a professional as opposed to somebody else.
Yeah, I agree. Cheap is not always cheaper, is it?
No, it's going to hurt you in the long run because it's hurt us. So I speak from experience.
Okay. Well, James, if somebody wants to get up with you, what's the best way?
So, I mean, there's a tons of ways you can find me. I'm getting out there on TikTok. So, if you want to find me, I'm Accident Attorney JG on TikTok. But if you want to call me, if you want to, send me an email, my direct phone number, it's 678-701-9023. I talk to attorneys across the country. I have no problem picking up the phone or texting with you. Or if you want to email me, it's jgrant@833-4THEWIN. It's our toll-free number. So at 833-4THEWIN.com.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And I like your model. And I love the fact that you're doing your own virtuals without going through a company. That's interesting.
I appreciate it. We're looking to bigger and better things as we grow.
All right, my friend. You take care.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Until the next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.